This is Networking for Introverts, a how-to guide. I'm going to talk a little bit about how to network today if you're an introvert. And if you're a subscriber to this channel, if you're a subscriber to the newsletter, if you've read my book, a lot of this is going to be information you've heard before, but I'm going to jump back into it. And the reason why I'm going to do it in this video and why I'm going to make this the topic of the newsletter this week is because about a month ago, I saw an article in The Economist, and the title of it was Networking for Introverts, a how-to guide, exactly the title of this. I went in and I read this article, gave him my email, got past the paywall, and went in and read it, and it was interesting, and there was no actual how-to guide in there. So I was kind of upset by that. I always feel like a lot of the information on the internets about networking is not very good. It's not very instructive. It doesn't tell you what to do. And it's specifically not good for introverts. It's not that it's wrong. It's just not really good for introverts. That's why I put out the newsletter. That's why I do these videos. I'm trying to help introverts be better networkers. I made a video talking about this article, and I sent it out to my newsletter list. A lot of you probably got that. And I told them what I felt about it. I told them that, I felt that, I told them that I didn't really agree with the article, or I didn't find the article useful. So I went on this 6-minute rant to tell them what I thought of it. And I sent it out and I was feeling all cool about it and everything. And then I got a comment. One of my readers commented on it and said, okay, Greg, you told us that this article didn't say anything about how to network, yet you didn't say anything about how to network. And I thought about it for a minute and I was like, he's absolutely right. I didn't. I just said, here's what's wrong with it. And my whole point in critiquing the article was, here's what's wrong with it, but I didn't say, here's how to fix it. And so I'm trying to fix that now. So I'm going to tell you my how-to guide on networking. Now, of course, there's more details in this. There's more that you could dig into here. And that's why I post my newsletter, I post these videos. I try to go into some of those details in every one of these episodes, every one of these issues. I try to, do those things. And so I'm going to do that today in summary. Now, most of this stuff you will have heard somewhere if you've been reading my newsletter. Again, if you've read my book, The Fast and Easy Guide to Networking for Introverts, you will have seen a lot of this. If you bought my Gumroad guide, which is 15-minute networking, you will have seen a lot of this. But I'm just going to break it down really simply, like the guide, the how-to guide. And if you want to go in more depth, read the other issues, watch the videos, and you can get in details. If you still have questions, you can always send me an email. You can hit me up on LinkedIn, Twitter, any of the socials. Please feel free to ask me questions, leave it in the comments, whatever. My door is open to help you become a better networker. So here's my how-to guide. Okay. This is what I always tell everybody when I'm going to talk to people about networking, when I'm going to do a presentation for it, anytime I talk about it. Here's my process for networking for introverts. Step number 1, start with who you know. I tell everybody to start with who they know. That's the first place everybody needs to start when they're networking. And what I mean by that is go through and make a list of people you know. Now, that's overwhelming. So let me break it down a little farther. Let me give you some suggestions. Suggestion number 1. If you got laid off today from your job, who are the first 5 people you would get in touch with? Family excluded. So take your immediate family out of it. Write down a list of the first 5 people you would tell that you lost your job if you lost your job today. Start there. Contact those people this week or within the next couple weeks. Reach out to them, send them a message, and just say, hey, I was thinking of you, wanted to catch up. You can also go through your resume and look at all the places you worked and think about the people you worked with. Visualize what it was like working there. Think about the people you were in meetings with. Who are all those people? And make sure that you're getting in touch with them. maybe get in touch with them via LinkedIn. That's a good way to do it. Speaking of LinkedIn, if you've kept up on LinkedIn and you have connections there, first degree connections, I would say start looking through your first degree connections and thinking, who haven't I talked to in a while? Between those few things, you should have a pretty decent list of people that you could reach out to and reconnect with, because there's a good chance you've lost touch with them. They've become what I call, or I don't call it, it was a study that MIT did, but they call them dormant ties of people that you have that you've lost touch with. But if you reached out to them, you could quickly start talking to them because they know you and they know your name. They're likely to respond. They certain level of trust. So reach out to those people and start a conversation. Step 2, with those dormant ties, connect with them online, but try to get to an in-person conversation. What I mean by that is you can use LinkedIn or email to get back in touch with these people. And to get back in touch with them online, you're going to send them a message that says, I thought of you the other day, which is true because you did. You thought of them on your list. And I was wondering how you were, and I thought I would reach out to reconnect. What's new with you? Start with that. Now, not everybody's going to respond right away. It may take them a little bit of time, but send those out. And when people respond, have a bit of an exchange. They'll probably say, I'm great. What's new with you? You can give them a little update on what you're doing. And really look for opportunities to say, hey, I would love to talk to you more. When would be a good time for us to talk? And it can be in person if you live in the same town, or it can be via Zoom. It can be via phone call, but you should be in some sort of voice-to-voice conversation, whether it's in person or online or virtually. Just you want to have a conversation. That's what you're looking to try to get. And if that seems to be too much of a struggle with people's schedule, make the time shorter, right? Tell them 15 minutes if that's all the time you can get. But make it easy. Be the one who offers times and tries to coordinate it and tries to do the work to schedule and set up the time to get together. Because the easier it is for people to connect with you, the more likely they are to connect. Okay, so you've taken people you've gotten back in touch with them, you sent them a simple email, which a lot of them will respond because they know you. And then you're going to set up a voice-to-voice conversation with them. And that comes to step number 3, which is listen and give. So when you go into these conversations, your whole goal is to ask the other people about themselves and to listen to what they say and then give them something if you can. What I mean by that is, okay, number 1, listen. I said it, but when you sit down in these conversations, people say, well, what are we going to talk about? And I always say, well, talk about the other person's favorite topic. And they go, well, what's their favorite topic? And I said, it's the topic that they know the most about. It's themselves. We all know the most about ourselves. It's not being self-centered. It's just the fact that we spend the most time with ourselves. That's the person we know. So ask people about themselves. What are you working on? What challenges are you running into? What's something interesting that happened to you lately? What's something that you're looking forward to? All things to get them talking about what's going on in their lives. And when they do that, you're going to listen to what they say. And as you listen, you're going to think about, do I have anything that could help them with whatever they're working on? Do I have an idea? Have I read a book? Have I met somebody who's doing the same thing? Have I solved this problem before? Something that you can give to them to help them with what they're working on. And if you can't do anything, if you can't give anything, you can't come up with anything in that conversation, the best thing you can do is give them something we all have, which is our attention. Give them your attention, really listen. Now, you may think of something later to give them, and that's great. If you think of an idea later after the conversation, send it along. It doesn't matter that the conversation's over. It's never too late to share a good idea. But you're trying to give because it's a whole heck of a lot easier for us all to network or to have these conversations if we're focused on what we're going to give to somebody else. Most people go into networking thinking about, how am I going to ask this person to help me? And it's a really hard thing, especially for introverts, to ask people to help them. It feels really awkward. So we're going to try to give first to take away some of that awkwardness. So once we've done that, step number 4 is be easy to help. What I mean by that is you've gotten together with somebody, you've kind of reconnected, started the relationship, you guys have had a good conversation, you know what they're working on, and you've given them something of value, they're going to turn around at some point and say, you've been so helpful. What can I do for you? This is a place where you could squander all the sort of work you've done, because if you ask them to do something that's too hard for them to do, they won't be able to do it. They want to do it. They want to help you. Most people want to help, especially if you've been giving to them. They want to give you something. They want to help you. But if you're hard to help, they're not going to help you. They're going to find reasons why. Everybody's busy. We all have a lot going on. So what I would say is, what I mean by be easy to help is be really, really specific with how they can help you and make it really, really easy. How do you do that? We've talked about many times a target company list. If you're somebody who's looking for a job, or even if you're not looking for a job, but you'd like to meet people who are doing cool things or doing things that you're interested in, give your connection, the other person, a list of those company names, like a physical list. I'm talking about on a piece of paper, well formatted, almost like your resume. Say, these are all the companies that I'm really interested in. Do you know anybody that works at one of them? They may not, but they might. You never know. And usually what happens is they say, well, I don't know anybody at this company, but I know somebody at one of their competitors, or I know somebody at this company that's like that. It starts the conversation. And it makes it easy for them to access the information in their brain. I call it, it makes it easy to flip through the mental Rolodex. It makes it easy for them to go, oh, okay, I know somebody at that place. I can connect you with them. If you just say, who do you know? That's really broad, and it's hard for people to pinpoint in their brain who they know that they should introduce you to. The more specific you get, the more focused you get, the easier it's going to be for them to come up with a person to introduce you to. And when they think of somebody, and they may not think of it on the spot, that's why you got to give them a physical list, because they're going to walk away with it. And then a few weeks later, they're going to come across in their life someone who works at one of those companies, and be like, oh my gosh, Greg was trying to meet somebody there. I can totally introduce him to them. And then they're going to introduce you. And there you go. Your network grows. Make it super easy. Get specific. Even if you know of somebody and you're like, hey, I know this person, I'd like to meet him. Do you know them? They may say like, no, I don't know them, but I know somebody like them or somebody else. You've just got to make this so easy that it's almost impossible for them to not help you. And once they do, all they have to do is introduce you via email, send an email, say, hey, I want to connect you to, and now you've been introduced to somebody new. Now you come with that person's implied recommendation. The person you knew is basically referring you to somebody new and saying like, I know and trust this person. You should know and trust this person. And now you've gotten introduced to somebody new. And then you start the process all over again. You start with an online conversation connection. You move to an in-person conversation. You ask them about themselves and you listen and give. And then when they say, how can I help you? You give them the same information, and your network grows and grows and grows. Now, out of those conversations at some point, if you're somebody looking for a job, yes, you're going to be like, I'm looking for a job, but they're going to be more willing to help connect you to people who can connect you to those opportunities with this process. You're not going to give them your resume. You're not going to say, hey, do you have any open positions for me? You're just going to say, hey, who do you know that you could introduce me to? And that's how you grow the network. That's how you have conversations. That's the how-to guide for networking for introverts. It sounds ridiculously easy. It's not easy. It's actually simple, but not easy. It's simple because you sit there and you go, well, that's just talking to people and meeting new people. Absolutely, 100%. It's not necessarily easy because you have to be consistent. You have to do most of the work. You have to reach out to people. You have to set things up. You have to be the one who's asking the questions. You have to think about being very specific about what you want. And you have to put in all the efforts. But it's up to you to network. Nobody's going to network for you. And so if you're waiting for somebody to network for you, you're going to be waiting a very long time. But that's my straightforward how-to guide. If I was rewriting this article for The Economist and I got to write the second part of it, that's what I would write in the second part. That's what I would say is the how-to guide for networking for introverts. I hope that helped. leave your comments, leave your suggestions. Tell me what you think. I would love to know what you think. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Hit me up on LinkedIn, Twitter, subscribe to the newsletter, leave your comments on this video. Go out this week, try out some of these things. Let me know how it works. And I hope you have a great week. Thanks.